talk about our support to the Roman integration test effort. Also talk about in preparation for the commissioning phase, focusing on software data pipelines. And also I'm going to talk about the work that will be funded to do beyond the threshold, mainly to support the CPP. And hopefully have time left for Q&A. So the instrument was delivered to Goddard in May. We're going to do the first integration CGI into the instrument carrier in October. So we're preparing that work right now. And after telescope arrives, we'll be there again, work with Roman team to do optical alignment, telescope and instrument, and also end-to-end optical verification. So that probably happens in the November timeframe. And then the payload integration will be all completed by end of December. After New Year, we'll be again going back to work with Roman team on the spacecraft to the payload integration. At that time, the instrument will be connected to the spacecraft, power, data, command, all that stuff. We can actually operate the instrument from the spacecraft. We'll be very busy, going back to East Coast, work with the Roman team. So that's the key task ahead of us in the next 6 months or so. And this is a top-level schedule. So here, you can see the instrument got delivered in the spring, early summertime. I talk about we'll be there to work with the CGI to IC integration and payload optical alignment with the telescope, then into the spacecraft. After that, the entire observatory will go through a series of test campaigns. Okay? We'll be there to support the entire Roman INT team to go through all these test campaigns. The launch readiness, I think, is still October 2026. Actually, it's not too far down the road. Lots of work to be done to get ready. So the few lines at the bottom summarizes our work along the lines what you heard earlier from Tam, Jim, regarding the ground systems. There's quite a bit of work remaining. We have one more ground software release and working with SSE and ground systems, getting ready to do operations. And there is a mission operations risk review in December. So we'll be supporting SSE and the ground systems there. With this is up ready to do in-orbit checkout right after launch. So it's not too far down the road. There are lots of work.
So D2 is the Bewilderbuff variation, unpinning the night, lying opposite the dark square bishop.
I've got an open mic. Got it.
Thank you. That's a quick summary of the work. I'll switch gear a little bit to talk about the enhanced mode chronograph. These are all the modes that beyond the Harbor Leo or tech demo. First, like to acknowledge the contributions from the actual program office 2 years ago for the actual masks and installation. We have those masks, fly them, but we have not done extensive testing. Have done some testing. You heard, from yesterday, today. For example, the calibration of the spectrometer and polarimeter. We heard about the lobes demonstration, for Z4 through Z11. You heard about the second most testing, the straight pupil results we did in the TVAC. And those work were supported by an overguide budget from NASA headquarters because they are beyond the threshold requirement. It turns out that all these tests were successful and we have some leftover money. We made a proposal to headquarters and they approved. Let us reuse those leftover overguide money into 3 new tasks. The very first one is documenting the CGI test results. Including today's, this week's workshop, We share the results with community. We pay some of us writing JEDIS papers in response to a call for special edition. That's the first task. The second task, we're going to start probably in the new fiscal year, will be led by Vanessa. What we're going to do is we're going to use the models we have done so far, including the HOWFS model, the star acquisitions, the LOFS model. We use those models to help us to simulate the most performance in response to CPP's request. If the CPC want to evaluate certain modes, and this team can be there to work with by the answers. And budget-wise, my guess is roughly we are able to support up to 1.0 full-time equivalent between now and the end of commissioning phase. So I think it's sizable, cover a number of areas, including calibrations, different modes. In star acquisitions, if people want to look at binary stars, and that's a new challenge, how to acquire them. So these are all the possible work under the second task. Then the third task, I think Tim touched a little bit. You heard from Nathan that the camera noise is very tricky. We're able to tune the software, manage performance. And we also found out that the noise is very dependent on the grounding systems. When the instrument is tested in one environment, has its own noise behavior. Move it to a different room, have different behavior. We expect when it's integrated in the observatory in orbit, we'll see different environment. The noise will behave differently. So what we're going to do here is, and the third task is to put a camera and bring Nathan's chamber over to the functional test bed. Put a cold camera in it, so we're able to expand the functional test bed, including a cold camera. So Nathan is also available to help us to tune the performance in response to any potential CPP target and the measurements. And we had to report back to NASA, progress of everything. And we use separate account to track the spending of this money, because this is not Roman money, different color money. I already mentioned that this is the call for special edition JEDIS paper. Many of are writing those papers. The guest editor is Olivier and Motor Heating. The deadline is October 1st. And this is a second special edition. We had one special edition on chronograph back in 2016. That special edition summarized the technology effort. So this one will summarize the flight instrument build as a result. And I'm hoping maybe in 3 years down the road, when we have in-orbit result, we have another special edition summarizing in-orbit performance. And I mentioned the second task, simulations, and I want to say a few more words about how the models play in the overall development CGI, from technology to flight instrument to the future, and also talk about the test bed and why we don't have a full test bed with optics layer on it. Okay, so a little bit going back from the technology days, we have a technology test bed. The purpose of that is demonstrate, yes, the chronograph works to the desired performance. In parallel, we were building up a very simple performance model at a time, but we're also, doing model validation, comparing test results with the model. And then the validate models after the end of successful technology phase, we use those models to help us design the right flight instrument, masks and configurations. Then you heard that at the end of the flight instrument testing, we're able to do some comparison between the flight instrument test results and the model predictions. Okay. That's very successful. And the bottom line here shows the functional test bed. You heard from Tim and Kylie how critical the functional test bed was to test the flight software. Okay. So this is right now, the instruments delivered. We don't have the flight instrument here anymore. There's no planned dark hole digging on the flight instrument before launch. It's not doable. Early days, we were hoping that we're able to upgrade the functional test bed from electronics software only to include the optics layer. We received a second set of OAPs from LAM as part of their contribution. So we have a second set of optics. We have 6 copies of the PAM's contribution from the MPIA. What we don't have, 2 flight-like DM. Don't have the second DM electronics and a few other things. To build out a complete aspect with optics layer flight light is way too expensive, beyond what APD is able to support in this environment. So APD say, hey, why don't we just keep the functional test bed, adding 1 camera, continue the model, use the model to help us to simulate the performance of the primary mode in other mode. So this is the current plan. Okay. It's a regret that we don't have a flight light test bed with the optics layer on the ground. It is what it is. Okay, so we just need to live with that, and we put the remaining money in the best use. Model predictions and functional test bed on the ground. Any questions on this one? And this is a picture showing what you saw early, current version of the functional test bed, like electronics there, and spacecraft interface simulators, running the latest version of flight software here. And we're going to move Nathan's vacuum chamber cryostat over to attach to the test bed, put second camera in the chamber, so we cool the camera to the flight operating temperature. We're able to adjust and tune response to the performance of the flight camera in orbit. The old plan before we put this in, Nathan will be stopped working on CGI starting October 1st. That's the biggest regret. So one of the challenges here is, I told headquarters we need to have money to keep Nathan around. Even he get a Nobel Prize win Hawaii, but he still need to be with us. We need Nathan. So that's sort of the summary of the the work, the plan on the enhanced chronograph models. Really appreciate APD is able to give us support in this environment. On the ground systems, you heard a lot from Jim already. There's quite a bit of ground software work still ahead of us, including end-to-end testing. We did the spacecraft flight to flight interim testing at Goddard back in June, 2 months ago, successful. And Jim mentioned that they did a recent testing a few weeks ago from SSC, all the connections down to Maryland connected to real spacecraft. Okay, so so there are lots of work, and there'll be a bunch of ground readiness testing, mission readiness testing ahead of us, and we're going to do the live, day in the life planning and testing when the right configuration shows up. There's a lot of prep work we had to do, including day in the life during commissioning, day in the life for operations. Data pipeline, you heard from Marie. Roman launch is, October 2026, is a little over 2 years. Not too far down the road. Commissioning right now is 90 days right after launch. I'd be ready for that. The tech demo, I think we got 3 months of quote unquote telescope time for the first 18 months. I think Julie is going to talk about the phase E plan again, what projects plan is, that refresher. And hopefully we're able to complete the tech demo phase within that time period and leaving some time left for the broader community to make best use of the instrument. And that's, I think, my large chart. We delivered instruments successfully. A few years ago, people thought CGI would be the very last one delivered, driving home on the schedule, turns out we're the first one delivered. Okay, questions?
Carl had a question on the chat. It was about the tech demo period. I think he counted 2.5 years in what you wrote,
Oh, maybe I had a typo, it's 18 months. period.
18 months. Okay.
I was wondering for like potentially testing CPP guest algorithms in the future, if there would be a path where you combine like the functional test bed and the model. Like you send commands to the functional test bed and then the model produces some like dummy output and then you can like run your algorithm on that and then send it to the test bed again to make sure that like everything's.
Yep, I think that's the idea. And
Okay.
bring that proposal to Vanessa and Tim, make sure that, the CPP can prioritize the work
Yeah.
and then we'll plan them in.
Big Slight modification, say Dan is
Oh,
the
Dan.
hardware working group
Okay.
lead is primary
CPP.
coordinator first and everything.
Defining the maturation plan, and I would be good to. This is the first time I've heard about the authorized tasks for enabling HASPOS, so it's really good news.
Most recent.
So yeah, thank you for the good news.
So we'll keep talking about refine that plan.
He was talking about the different drips that you saw and understanding the sources. And you talked a little bit about correlating thermal data. So is that on your list
It
of
is.
things you'll do?
Yes, it is within the in-guide baseline plan. I think Eli mentioned that additional model deliverables, the additional support of the cycle 4, maybe cycle 5 models that Alice is leading. So that's part of that.
I see. Okay, good.